Hello and welcome to Albumble, the podcast where we review albums that we might not have got round to viewing the first time round. I'm Anne.
And I'm not.
Yes, we had that
I did that joke last time, yeah.
Yeah, a continuity.
How many episodes am I going to be able to do that joke for before it gets irritating? I think it's one.
It's already irritating.
But yes, I think I have found my raison d'etre.
Yes. Right.
Oh, right, okay. Shall I introduce the album,
Yes.
seeing as it was my choice? So my choice at the end of the last episode, which I sprung on Anne, was Victory by the Belgian, I would say singer-songwriter, but that doesn't really cover it. Belgian multi-instrumentalist and performer and musician Daan.
Yes.
D-A-A-N.
And do you have any more information about this particular album? Because a lot of people probably might not have heard of him, never mind this album.
He came out of the sort of wave of Belgian pop that was around in the late 1990s, was in a band called Dead Man Ray, which sort of brought him to prominence, and then he started doing his solo music around about 2000. This, I think, was about his third or fourth album. I've researched this really well, but it was a slight departure from what he'd done before, and was thematically a really well stuck together bit of work, I think, and I'm probably getting a bit too far into what I should be saying later on rather than just an introduction.
So what was he doing before this then?
So he'd released 2 albums solo before this.
Yeah.
One of which was Bridge Burner. The other one was, hold on, live Googling. Pro Fools was his first one, and then Bridge Burner in 2002.
What genre of music are we talking here, we say?
He'd started off more as an indie artist. Everything that he'd done up until this point had always had a bit of an experimental left field sound to it.
Yeah.
You never quite knew where it was going to go. And this one was one that really... he moved into doing this sort of electronic synth pop, but there are so many other influences coming in on this, as we will discuss.
Yes, right. So, shall we review?
So, the album is 10 tracks long, and it
Yes.
opens with the title track, Victory.
Victory.
Yeah.
Not after the museum in Belgium.
Knowing Daan? Possibly.
Possibly.
It's,
In joke there.
There is at the southernmost set of motorway services in Belgium, on the motorway to Luxembourg, there is a dead museum.
Yes.
Which was called Victory, which had a huge collection of World War II ephemera and dioramas.
Just what you want at a service station.
I mean, I assume it was there, so it would be easy to get to, and people could park there.
But no one wants to go to that part of Belgium or to Luxembourg.
Back when it was active, which I believe was the late 90s, it was not a very populous part of Belgium, and you don't have. I mean, it's noticeable now in the sort of 20 years or so since we've been travelling around that part of the world. How much more stuff has been built around there, and how many more signs of life.
Are you saying it was before its time?
I think it might have been, but I think the problem with big privately funded museums is they can't last for 20 years without somebody putting some money into them. Anyway, may have got slightly sidetracked.
Right, so if you want to start, and then I will...
So Victory is a lovely synth pop song. It's dark and brooding. It's quietly uplifting. It's not hands up in the air dancing stuff. It's quietly uplifting, and it's persistent, and I think it's a great opener to the album.
Yeah.
There is a video for this. It was released as a single. The video is great because it goes through. It starts having the lyrics on the bottom of the screen, and then has different lyrics going on as you go through. and you can try and piece the stories together and interlink them.
Okay.
Which I think's really clever.
So it is quite a strong start. The persistent to go the
synth line.
It's very is it Frankie Knuckles? The Source.
Oh yeah.
It's a bit like it's not the same as, but it's got that persistent, always there underneath everything. Now I'm going to say something you might think is very odd. That rapping.
Yeah.
Right. The first time I heard it, I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. And then every other time, it just makes me laugh.
Okay.
There's just something a bit, I don't know, like surprising, kind of. I'm not quite sure, but he went there.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
And as I've got used to with his music, if he's doing something, he does it with total conviction.
Yes.
I'll probably get on to later a bit of why I like him as an artist.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah. I also liked the way as it got nearer the end, it became slightly more guitar-y.
Yes.
Which kind of gave it a bit more of a build-up.
Yeah.
It's not a very fast song.
No.
But it does have a lot of power.
Yeah.
I found.
And that builds as it goes through as well.
So yes, not a bad start, really.
No, I think I certainly enjoy it.
Yeah.
So then we move on to Lie.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a dance floor banger.
Yep.
It's this album thematically, a lot of the instrumentation remains fairly constant throughout. What is different is there are different influences upon the songs, and I really like how Lie works.
Yes.
I think it's without being out and out cheesy as a dance floor song.
Yeah.
I think it's got a lot of power behind it.
Yeah. So one note I made, it says, I think, without being rude to Daan, I think this could have been a very interesting instrumental.
Mm-hmm.
It could have stood up on its own.
Yeah.
That's not to say that the singing or the song is bad. It's just it's a different spin on it. One thematic thing I found about, I don't know whether it's this album or Daan's style, is he tends to have something slow with something fast.
Yeah.
So we had quite staccato, short words.
Yeah.
On top of something that was quite swirly and a bit ethereal.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the other way round. He'll have something that's quite long but will have something quick underneath it.
Yeah. He's not the sort of person who tends to make straightforward, easy listening stuff. So a lot of that I think is completely intentional.
Yeah.
So
I said by the time we got to the end, I was thinking it was starting to feel slightly. I don't know if this works numerically, but it started to feel quite Daft Punk.
Yeah.
That Nile Rodgers-y kind of bass line.
Yeah.
Kind of the doing, 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 doing.
Now I don't listen to it very often through headphones.
Yes.
But I did when I was refreshing my mind to do this. And the bass that comes through on it, I was using my favourite little in-ear headphones that do have quite a lot of thump to them. And it was tremendous how much bass was coming through and rumbling through that. So yeah, I enjoyed that very much.
Yes, it's a good second song.
Yeah,
because it doesn't overshadow the first song, but it's very different.
Yes.
But is still the same. Thematic thread. Anyway,
this is one of those albums where everything sounds orally of a piece.
Yes.
Which is one of the things I like about it.
Okay.
On to Eternity, track 3. Oh, go on, you can...
Okay,
you can...
so... the first thought I had was, is this his Bee Gees period? He's got that there's a couple of songs on here where he does a lot of what's it called, falsetto.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is harmonised.
Yeah.
As well, which is kind of slightly Bee Gees-esque. And again, you've got that swirly instrumental.
Yeah.
But a lot of the words are very staccato.
Yeah.
He also doesn't seem to sing things through. He will sing like almost each word individually. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, right, okay,
like,
yeah.
He'll go, and you and me. It's not, and you and me kind of thing. It's all very individual, which gives each word and each syllable a punch.
Yes. Yeah. I will just point out at this point.
Okay.
One of the tracks on Dead Man Ray's first album, Berkham, was called BG.
Okay, so
and that's one of my favourite tracks off that album as well, which is why I thought I'd point that out.
Right. I did not know that.
No, it's I'll be honest. This one's a little bit of a downer for me. I don't enjoy this one as much. I don't think it quite has the punch that a lot of the rest of them do. But then again, if everything was at the same tempo and intensity, it wouldn't be as enjoyable. No. So track 4 is Galaxy.
Galaxy. So I've said that this starts out quite ambiguous. You don't quite know if this is going to be slow or fast.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a kind of like the twin sister of Lie.
Yes.
Because it feels like Lie, but slightly happier.
Yeah.
I don't want to say major key. It's not I don't think it is. But they do feel like they're together.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I like the bits where it goes really quick.
Yeah.
You have the diddle-diddle. Yeah. Diddle-diddle. Ooh. And then again, it's like the fast bits and the slow bits.
Yeah, and it's another euphoric build towards the end.
Yes,
which obviously is something he's quite fond of on this album. So track 5 is Addicted.
So another bit of change of pace.
Yes.
And this song is what I would call more of an. I might be totally wrong on this because obviously I don't know Daan as well as you do, but I would almost say that this is more what I would think Daan does, because Daan to me is that lower register.
Yeah.
That kind of growly, which this has a bit more of.
Yeah.
However, is not the main part of it. Wanty 90 cool to me, music's the Odyssey. It's the same tune.
I can't say I've ever thought about that. When were those?
I don't. I think that was. Do you know what? That wouldn't have been too far. I think that might have been a bit earlier. Wanty 90 cool to me.
The Magic Key, isn't it? That one's called.
That's what. Yes, that's what it is called.
So that was 2003. So it would have been contemporaneous to this.
But the just that bit just sounds quite familiar.
Yeah. This was released as a single,
right?
Which I find quite surprising.
That is, I mean, I know I say it's what I think of his register, but the song itself is. It's I don't know what the word is. It's just a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's growly. It's broody.
Yes.
And yeah, I think this is the sort of thing that he went on to do more of.
Yes.
On following albums,
yes.
There was more of this slightly menacing. Sort of. I don't know quite what the word is. Persona.
Yes.
That he was exploring. So that's the end of side 1.
Oh right, okay.
This album was never released in 2004 on vinyl, by the way.
Okay.
But did get reissued in 2017 on vinyl, which would lead us to the start of side 2.
Yes.
And an instrumental track.
Yes.
Called Housewife.
So do you want to tell us about this, or what the... Because this is... Yeah, go on. You talk about it.
So, Housewife has far outstripped everything else on this album.
Yeah.
To become something of a national phenomena in Belgium.
Yeah.
In, I don't know which year it was, about 2018, 2019, I believe it was, it topped a poll on Studio Brussels, the sort of... I suppose the closest thing we have to it in the UK is Six Music, but they play a lot more new music as well as the archive stuff. And every year they have a poll called The Greatest Switch, which is now, I think, expanded to go over about 4 days, where they count down the top 250 dance and electronic records of all time.
Yes.
And this was number 1 on the list at least once, possibly twice.
It's nearly always up there, isn't it?
It's always in the top 10. Yeah. But it's... Dan's quite dismissive of it. He says...
What, of the song or the success?
I think of how this is revered now. Because if you look on Spotify, this has an insane number of plays compared to anything else. Sort of 30 or 40 times any other track on the album. And I believe in an interview I read some time ago, he said he's mystified how something we recorded because I think this was quite a short take in a session to record this, and something we recorded in quite a short time has just become a huge has got a huge life of its own. But it's basically a thumping dance floor, techno-y. It's got some lovely sort of dirty bass line sounds on it as well that I think are very that I think is one of the reasons why it's remained so popular. And this insistence through the whole song. It starts off quite mellow and then comes in with it and keeps going with that all the way through. Anyway, sorry, I'm...
No. I have got some questions which you have sort of answered.
Okay.
So, one thing I thought very early on is that this is quite a long song.
Yes. Just over 6 minutes.
Yeah, which, considering the other songs have not really been that long, although there is a longer one that comes up later, it's very well constructed, considering its length and the fact that it's an instrumental.
Yeah.
And is obviously it is seen as a very good example of the genre.
Yeah.
But I do have 2 questions.
Right.
Number 1, why is it called Housewife? It's just I'm trying to. Is there a video where she's like ironing to the song or something?
I think there is a video to it.
Okay.
If I have seen it, it was a long time ago.
Okay.
But I'm struggling to remember.
Okay. And the second question, which you've kind of alluded to, is would you or would Daan say, and I think we've answered whether Daan thinks it's true, would Daan think it's ironic that this is his most loved and revered song, considering, you know, all the different styles of music he's done and the fact that he's a singer? That the one song everybody seems to love is one he's not singing on. It just feels a bit...
I think
maybe that's why he's I don't know.
I perhaps used the wrong words when I was describing that. I wouldn't say he's dismissive of it. I think he's grateful for the success of it and the fact that people like it, but is somewhat surprised by the life it's developed of its own. I'll use this opportunity to briefly touch on one of the reasons why I like him as an artist. I started following him on Facebook when he was recording his album, which ended up being Le Franc Belge, which was his exploration of being a Walloon.
Yes.
So a French-speaking Belgian, partly in French, partly in English. I don't think he's ever done anything in Flemish. But anyway, sorry, I digress. When he was recording that album that was released in 2013, he released a number of videos on Facebook called Daan in Progress,
Right.
which were him going through the recordings of this. But this is not in a sort of studio setting like you'd expect to see a band in. This is mainly Daan farting round in his barns and outbuildings, chain smoking, and putting things together and plugging things into other things, and then grumbling and shaking his head. Very little dialogue on there, but tremendous to watch because I think there's an element of performance to it.
Yes. Was it like Mon Oncle, where he was like...
I think this was when he was at the peak of his Jacques Brel influence as well, and I think there is something of that he's exploring. And that's sort of the first sort of social media views I had of him.
Yeah.
A little while later, during the early part of lockdown, he posted a message on Facebook from which was an email he'd had from one of these companies. It definitely wasn't Cameo, but doing the same sort of thing that they do. So messages from artists to their fans for a sum of money. And there were a lot of expletives in it. And Dan was making it very clear that sometimes he does things like that for his fans, which he does. I've seen them on Facebook, they're great. Sometimes he does things like that for his fans, but he does it if he has time, out of the goodness of his heart. He doesn't expect to be paid for it.
Aww.
And exploiting people for messages from their idols is absolutely disgraceful. And he properly went off on one.
Oh, dear.
And it was tremendous. Got a huge response from people as well. But that's one of the many reasons why I like him as an artist. I don't say that everything he records as a musician absolutely chimes with me.
No.
But I can feel that heart where it comes from, and that's important. So anyway.
Right, should we move on?
Yes, moving on. Renegade.
Renegade.
Track number 7.
So, another question. Has Daan ever done a country album?
Well,
because I think he would be very good at it. Maybe he can redo all of Waylon's stuff so it has a bit of heart.
His last album, The Ride, which was released in 2022, has a lot of that sort of theme. You've heard there's another instrumental from that, which was the lead out song from it. I don't know whether we can still say single. That was called Western. And you know that one, don't you?
I think so.
With
I think yeah.
And is this brilliant sort of semi-electronic sort of bonanza style piece of music, which could easily be an intro to a modern Western movie or something like that. And that is effectively what the video is. So it's lots of dust and desert and charging around and things like that. So I love Renegade. I think it's a brilliant song.
It's got lots of that lower register again, which is why I think he'd be quite good at doing a kind of Western like country album.
But it is a collection of country influences and Western movies and Americana and squidge the whole lot together and give it a synth pop undertone.
Yeah.
What's not to like? Track 8 is Dream.
So this is more falsetto. Yeah. More Bee Gees
this
kind
is
of
Eternity
thing.
Part 2.
Yes, it is, effectively. There seems to be a lot of that.
Yeah.
Kind of like you can like couple up certain songs as being together, almost different parts of the same. So I mean, there's not really too much to say about that because it's very much like as you said, it's very much like the other one.
Yes, and very mellow and very very chilled out, that
yes.
one. Then we have Gabriel, track 9.
So I would say this is possibly his most melodic song, and uses every bit of his register in his voice.
Yeah.
I would say it's almost slightly R&B.
Oh, right, okay.
Inspired.
Yeah.
It's a lot of kind of that kind of, you know, the riffing in the voice kind of. It's got quite an interesting song, like lyrically. A lot of his stuff, the words have kind of washed over me. I've not really listened intently to what he's saying, rather more how he's saying it.
Yes.
Whilst with this one, the way that he's saying the words is very has a lot of intent.
Yes.
So you do kind of follow the route where he's going.
Yeah. I think that's something that's true of, particularly of this album, is the words are very much a part of the soundscape.
Yes.
And you can enjoy them enjoy the whole thing without sort of scrutineering the lyrics.
Yes.
Scrutinising, sorry. Yeah. So I would, I do enjoy this song. I think it's a lovely one put together. Track 10 is Neverland.
Okay, you go.
Which I think is a beautifully constructed final track of an album.
Okay.
Because the way that it keeps building up to end lines with Neverland, with the title Neverland, seems to sort of push that we are coming to the end. This is the end, and of course it's 8.5 minutes long, so it's...
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I actually think it's a very odd song to have at the end of that album, because it does stick out a bit.
Yeah.
It does feel like, you know, we've had the workout.
Yeah.
Here's the cool down.
Yeah.
It's very long, very expansive, although it does... After a few listens, I did realise that it fills the space. There are actually some differences between the bits.
Yeah, yeah.
In particular, I quite liked the... I've put here the medieval part.
Yeah.
With the kind of the what's it called?
Harpsichord.
Harpsichord, yes, that's it. That bit. I do feel, though, it is just a bit too long.
I don't think that's unfair.
I think, you know, it just, especially because it is basically the same bit.
Yeah.
It's not like a verse, chorus, it's bit.
Yeah.
Over, and you do start to wonder, oh, is this the last? No, there's another one. And then you start, because you're then thinking, when's it going to end? You're not actually then listening to the song. You're just preempting, and you hear what you think you want to hear.
Yeah. Rather
than actually keeping your mind open.
Well, you may be interested to know, when it was released on vinyl, this was edited. So,
okay.
I think this was the only track on the album that was edited. But I was thinking with Housewife at one end of it, and then the other, we would be getting over the limit of what you can fit on one side of an album. So yeah, this was there were about 3.5 minutes cut off this for the vinyl release. So so I think that brings us to the end of the track by track. So that brings us to the end of the album.
Yep.
Overall, how did you find the experience?
I think it was quite enjoyable, actually. I think because I knew who Daan was, I maybe had some preconceptions about his work
Yes.
that I had to quickly put aside. I think if you've never heard of him before,
Yeah.
or you've never experienced any of his back catalogue, I think this is a very good, to put it mildly, entry level drug.
Yeah.
Because I think this would appeal to a lot of people.
Yes.
Because it's not too wild. It's not too anything. It's a lot of little bits of things. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's very indicative of how he tends to work. Each album seems to have or particularly everything he's recorded since this of the albums.
Yes.
Seems to have a sort of running theme that everything else is moulded around.
Yeah.
Also, to the extent he's done a couple of albums where he's revisited songs he's done previously.
Right.
And, for example, he's done a mostly acoustic, it's not entirely acoustic, mostly acoustic album called Simple. And he released another compilation a couple of years ago whose name just escapes me at the moment.
Okay.
But I'll come back to that. But that was, again, not a straightforward, these are the hits compilation.
Yes.
It was I've re-recorded all of these songs and I've done them in a style where they all fit together as a body of work.
Yeah.
So he's quite the revisionist as well.
So yeah, I think it would be, from here, you could kind of go further on into the catalogue and then see where, kind of like where the story goes from here. Yeah. Because how many albums has he done now then in total?
Hold on.
Because if this is 2004, is he a prolific...
You ready to do some counting?
Okay.
So we've got Pro Fools, Bridge Burner, Victory, The Player, Manet, Le Franc Belge, Nada... Oh, sorry, The Mess, and The Ride I would put down as being proper studio albums.
Okay.
Nada, I think, was the re-recording... No, it wasn't. No, that was it. No, we're up to another one.
Okay.
That's 9 albums. Then.
Right. So there's plenty to look back and forward on. Yes.
And it's probably fair to say that if you love this album, you're not going to like everything.
No.
But then again, there are parts of his back catalogue that I'm not overly fond of. But I don't let that hold me back because I know that the next thing's probably going to be brilliant. So
yeah. Would you have a favourite song on the album?
I really like Renegade.
Okay.
I like how bold it is, how much it comes out with themes that you wouldn't associate with being this sort of electronic synth poppy production album. And I do like the title track as well.
Yeah.
So that brings us on to where we're going next.
Oh, where are we going next? Right. So, I've got a nice big list, and it's just trying to hone it down to something.
Do you know what? I had a thought today,
which was
of where the next album's going to be from my choice.
Yes.
So,
okay. Yes.
Yeah, it might be a challenge, but carry on.
So
the best of Biss.
I have actually thought, would it be interesting if we chose an album that we knew we didn't like or neither of us had ever heard?
Right, look.
But I think that's not yet.
I'll make a deal with you. I won't choose Biss if you don't choose Nirvana. Okay?
Oh, no, all God, right. No. Right. Not, yeah. Right, so, I'd like you to listen to Who Killed the Zootons?
Oh, excellent.
By the Zootons.
Yes.
Which actually is an album I haven't heard myself for a while.
No.
But I have very fond memories of listening to it.
Yeah.
The first time round.
Yeah.
And it's also not the one with Valerie on it. Which
is that the one with Why Won't You Give Me Your Love?
No.
No? Or is that the one before that?
I think that's... I can't remember now. But there's... there's quite a lot of good songs, and there were quite a lot of singles off that album as well. So, or was it?
That was... Oh, You Will, You Won't. That one, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we can have that is on Spotify.
Yeah.
It's on lots of streaming things. I've got the CD in the kitchen.
Okay.
If you're desperate. So I thought that might be something. I know it's similar. It's in a similar wheelhouse to Pulp, but at least it is a decade later.
Yes, that was actually their first album.
Yes,
then. Yeah,
that was their first.
Okay. Because they've got new music out
Yes,
as well, which is really enjoyable.
Oh, good.
That's had a little bit of airplay on Radio X.
Okay.
Which I only listen to until Toby Tarrant comes on.
Okay. Yes.
Honest.
Right. So we'll go away and listen to that, and you can go and listen to that as well, people.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, and you can tell us what you think
Yeah.
about Pulp or Daan
Yeah.
or
the Zootons. Yeah. Because correspondence is always
yes.
open. You can now go through the socials.
So we're on Albumble, on X, as we call it, Twitter.
Twixter.
You can find
Twixes.
us on... We're now on Spotify.
Lovely.
We're also on Audible.
Hold on, does that mean I have to be as edgy as Joe Rogan?
No.
I can sit here and just, everything you say, man, I just go, whoa, man, like, that's so amazing, man. Let me get some more weed.
So we're on, what did I say? We're on Spotify,
Yes.
We're on Audible, we're on Apple Podcast.
We're on Audible.
Yeah.
I'm not even subscribed to that.
No, well, Amazon and Audible are now the same thing, apparently. If you upload it to Amazon, you're on... Anyway,
right.
we're on Podchaser, we're on other things. If you just search Albumble, you will find us, and Podbean is where we are.
Are we on cassette
subscribed.
at Weymouth Library?
You never know. We might be. So yeah, get in touch. Tell us what you think, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Well, you'll hear from us in a couple of weeks' time with the Zootons.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.